Hello, this is Dr. Kamani, licensed clinical psychologist. Thank you for tuning in today for Black Women in Toxic Jobs. And we are going to talk about the experiences of Black women medical doctors. So I'm so excited to have this conversation today. So on my channel, I talk about Black women and healing, supporting the healing. And I also focus on helping Black women heal and pivot and leave toxic jobs to save themselves. So if you have not already subscribed to my channel on YouTube, please do so, Lifting as We Climb Consulting, Wellness Services. And I also want to just briefly mention that I do this work because I'm a toxic job survivor. And I believe and I know that when we have these experiences in the workplace that are traumatic, that it can really impact us on a very profound level, significantly, right? Physically, psychologically. And I want Black women to know that healing is possible. I want you to see me and know, okay, she's gone through it, she's made it, right? I've made it out, I'm doing very well, and I'm trying to encourage and support other Black women in doing so. So I'm going to turn it over to my very special guest. Miss Benoit. So if you can, I'm Dr. Benoit. Dr. Benoit. So Dr. Benoit, if you can please introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Janeeka Benoit. I'm also affectionately known on social media as Dr. J as well. And I am a dual board certified sports medicine and internal medicine physician by day. And by night, I am a negotiation coach for professional women of color, primarily Black women physicians.
Mhm.
And so my roots are from Brooklyn, New York. I just was talking to Dr. Kamani that I've been kind of all over, and now I'm really all over because I work as a travel physician now. So who knows? I may be in a city near you.
Yes.
um, and I've really transformed my life. And my well-being has just up leveled with the way that I've navigated my career. So I'm excited to share a little bit about that today.
Yes. And it's fascinating because I really want Black women to know not only about the healing, right? But you can pivot and do something else, right? So you can have the training, the experience, and you can take that work or that knowledge or that experience somewhere else. You don't have to stay at a toxic situation. So, Dr. Benoit, can you please share with the audience about the experiences that medical doctors may encounter in the workplace in terms of the toxicity? Can you tell us a little bit about that and the reasons that some are deciding to leave?
Yes. So, oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, healthcare, as we know, it has become really bought out by the major health systems. And
Mm,
so what happens is the health system gets stressed. And
mm,
who is at the forefront of that stress? They are the doctors having to see so many patients in a little bit amount of time. So
mm-hmm,
what you see is kind of what becomes like assembly line medicine. So you're seeing
mm,
patient after patient after patient after patient.
mm,
Sometimes on the schedule, you may not even have control over your schedule. So you may even be double booked with patients.
mm.
And, with seeing all those patients on an assembly line, there's very little time for you to even gather your thoughts. And if you
Right.
think about it, we are in the business of taking care of people. We literally have lives in our hands. So seeing patients like this in an assembly line, it
Mm,
definitely can impact care.
yeah.
And also, most importantly, it impacts the people who are taking care of those patients, right? Because
Yes.
so I have to be well because I have to be able to think and I have to
Yep.
be able to communicate with you and I
Yep.
have to be able to come up with a solution to your health problem. And so
Mm-hmm,
if I'm constantly going and going and going, not
mm-hmm.
even having time to, think or take a break, that over time impacts your overall well-being. And
Yes,
that's only just one
absolutely.
thing.
Oh, so in terms of the exhaustion and like you're like a machine, right?
Yes.
But recognizing that we need to be able to take a moment to just reflect. And you also said this so important, like people's lives are in your hands. So it's very important that you are well rested, that you have time to really sit with people and really fully understand what's going on with them. So, Dr. Benoit, can you share what are some of the issues that you have encountered or heard about in terms of physicians leaving the field or leaving their job or leaving the field?
So a lot of it is doctors are not heard. Um,
Mm,
um, another part of it is that doctors they're just not inclined to speak up and to advocate
mm,
for themselves.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's also that there's no support as well, and so this is one of my major gripes that may seem somewhat controversial. So a lot of these health systems will focus on patient-centered care. And
mm-hmm.
though I believe in that, there also
Mm-hmm.
needs to be care for the ones who are taking care of the patients
True,
as well.
true,
Because
true.
they cannot be patient-centered care if the ones who are taking care of them are not well. You see
Exactly,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
It doesn't make sense. It
Right,
doesn't make sense because we are providing a service and therefore it cannot be patient-centered care if we are not well. If
right.
we are not being heard, if we are not getting the support that we need in order
Mm-hmm.
to care for the patients.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so, um, so a lot of it is doctors not heard. Doctors are
Mm-hmm.
disinclined to speak up, and that is
Mm-hmm.
just the nature of how we were trained. Honestly,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just work hard, do what you need to do, and keep on doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
And
so that kind of upbringing during
yeah,
training gets propagated throughout your career.
it's reinforced,
It
right?
is
And
reinforced.
so I'm wondering, because I talk to Black women a lot about from different professions about like what is the moment that you know like it's time to go, right? So if you have these different experiences from what you have heard or what you may have experienced, how can a physician know like it's time to go? How can
Yes.
they?
So this is what happens to us. Um, so what happens is they feel like something is missing, right?
Mm,
So with women physicians and more specifically Black women doctors, we are natural healers. We want to
mhm.
give and we want to give and we want to that's just a part of who we are. It's
Yes,
part of our DNA, right? And
yes.
then so we do it so much there then you start to notice that there is something missing because we've given so much but then we are not fulfilled.
Oh, yes. Nobody's pouring into you
No
guys
one's pouring n
to help
no one
sustain you to do the work.
right, your
Mhm.
gifts are not being utilized. Your talents are
Mm.
not being utilized, and
Mhm.
you're like, a sponge. Everything is being just squeezed out of you, right?
Yeah,
But you're so used to giving, and then you arrive at a point where I can't do this anymore. Like
yeah.
I need to also pour into myself. I need to be able to acknowledge my gifts. I need to be able to utilize my gifts. I need to
Mhm.
be able to walk in my purpose because
Mhm.
right here I'm stagnant and all I'm
Mm.
doing is giving and giving, giving, but I am not receiving and I'm
Yeah,
not being all that God has created me to be. So I have
yeah,
to leave because I'm not
yeah.
going to grow here.
Oh, yes. That's something I talk about a lot. I know I definitely felt that way at the toxic job that I resigned from, is that I was not growing and I
Right.
felt stunted and stagnated, right? And that's it's like you feel stuck, but you're like, I don't see any way that this can get any better, right? So in your experience, Dr. Benoit, what are some of the resources that help physicians if they want to leave their particular job? What are
Yes.
some resources out there?
So definitely coaching. So coaching has been great. I'm really blessed that I invested into coaching very early in my medical career. I was not even out of training yet. I was still a fellow. I was a sports medicine fellow. So I invested very early because Dr. Kamani, I already knew that it wasn't going to be sustainable for me.
Wow, you knew that
Yeah,
from the
I've been
beginning.
blessed. I would say I've been blessed that God has given me that intuition very early because I
Yes.
saw my senior attendings. I saw how they lived.
Mm.
So I
Ooh.
yes, and they were unhappy. They did not have time. They didn't have time to spend with their family. And I was like, I don't want
Mm.
that for myself. I want
Yes.
to live. I want to be
Yes.
able to utilize my gifts and my talents. I want to be able to walk in my purpose. But at
Mm.
the same time, I still want to take care of my patients, but I want to do it on my terms.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I invested very, very early into coaching, and it has been the best investment ever, ever.
Yes.
Because I knew that there was something more to me that I wanted to birth. And I knew that if I stayed within the four walls of a hospital or clinic, I would not be that high, that high version of myself that I
Yeah.
saw in my dreams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know
So,
what? Can I say something real quick, Dr.
yeah.
Benoit? I think what happens a lot of times is that when we're in these toxic jobs, like we're looking around us and we can see that people in the system are unhappy, right? We can see that nobody's happy, right? They're just kind of going along with the flow. So we see that, and many times, or I encourage us to stop and think, is this the life that I want to live? Right. So when
Right.
you look at people at the so-called level that you want to go to, and you look at them in their lives and they look miserable, that's we should just take a pause right there, right?
Right.
Then when we see that we are moving in a direction that's not aligned with our dreams, another moment we need to pause, right? And being okay with saying, this is not okay with me. I need to figure out how to get out, and that's why coaching is so valuable. I've had coaches too, and I can just say, I would not be here right now if I did not have the Black women coaches. I would not be here right now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
same
having a
here.
coach helps you walk through what you need to do, your next steps to get out, right?
Mhm.
So you talked about, how medical doctors are treated. You talked about, getting coaching, right? Now, I'm going to take a shift, which is different than I usually do on my YouTube channel, right?
Okay,
So
let's do it.
usually my focus on my channel is how do you heal and leave, right? So I'm always like, you cannot heal in the same environment that's harming you, right?
Ooh,
So
yeah.
that's my perspective. I'm always like, get out, save yourself, right? Not immediately, but come up with the exit plan and leave. Now, I do respect and understand that some people don't want to leave the job, right? So
Mhm.
we're going to shift and talk about those people who might want to stay. So if you want to stay and you see some things and you're like, this does not look good, right? Is there anything that like a Black woman physician can do to avoid some toxicity in the workplace?
Yeah, so, honestly, it requires just taking time to be still, right?
Mm,
And
mhm.
taking time to honor your desires.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, initially, what I thought I wanted was what
Mhm.
my profession would deem as like worthy, right? Or
Mhm.
reputable, right?
Okay.
I thought I wanted to be a WNBA team physician. So I'm sports medicine. I'm a sports medicine doc. So
Yes.
typically, like you are of the upper echelon in the sports medicine society if you are a team physician, especially for a
Mm.
professional team, right?
Yes.
So I thought that's what I wanted, right?
Mhm.
But I had to, take some time. And for me, that looks like, getting for me, my time to just be in solace is the mornings. My
Mhm.
brain is just more optimized during that time. And
Mhm.
so I had to just take some time
Mhm.
and journal and just think about my desires, my true
Yeah.
desires.
Yeah.
And really what I wanted is I wanted to be flexible and free. That's all I wanted.
Hmm.
That's all I
Yes.
wanted.
Yes.
I didn't care about no title. I didn't care about being on TV. I didn't
Yes.
care about being nobody's NBA team. I didn't care about none of that.
Right, 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 right. It's like you work so hard and you're like, wait a minute, I'm more shackled down than before. Like this doesn't make any sense. And in fact, one of my friends says, and I love this quote she said, I want to practice without shackles.
Ooh,
I want to practice my craft. I want to practice my art without shackles. And I know I absolutely felt that way. We used to call the job the plantation. Okay.
yeah.
It was like being chained to something that is oppressive. right?
Mhm.
And so I think you're saying the same thing for you. You were like, that might have been my dream, but that's not really my dream
That's
anymore,
not
right? Like as
mm,
I'm getting close, that this is not like it's like more of a nightmare. So what would you say to physicians who let's say they left a toxic job, right?
mhm,
Or let's say they're in training.
mhm.
What kind of things would you suggest that they be aware of to possibly avoid being in a toxic job?
Yes, so definitely is determining for yourself what you envision your future practice to look like. Because what
Mm,
happens is this, we during training will look to our attending physicians and emulate what they're doing or emulate, their path. But we have to, like I said earlier, is really understand what we want our future path to look like. And it's
mhm,
okay if it looks outside the box. Having
mm,
a flexible and free lifestyle as a physician was outside of the box.
yes,
Okay, because typically
yes,
we have been indoctrinated to work ourselves to the bone. And I'm
yeah,
out here saying, honestly, I'm really not trying to work myself to the bone. I really just want to be flexible and free. How can I do that?
yes. But
How do I do
Can
that?
I say something, Dr. Benoit? You want to live a life where you're flexible and free because we know that working people like a machine is not healthy for us, right?
It's
So
not.
you want to live a healthy life because you're trying to support other people living a healthy life, right?
Oh, and that listen,
So
this is another conversation we going into, Dr. Kamani. This is another conversation because that is exactly right because it's also allows me to practice in integrity as a
yes,
physician. At the
yes,
end, like first and foremost, I need to make sure that I am well, right? And
absolutely,
I have to be able
absolutely.
to practice a healthy lifestyle. How do I look like telling my patients you need to get more sleep and you
Right,
need to eat healthy and you need to exercise? When I don't have time to exercise, I
right.
am grabbing any unhealthy thing that's in the doctor's lounge
Oh,
and I'm hardly getting any sleep because I'm up all night charting. I'm bringing
yes.
work home
Ooh,
and I was at work when I was at work and now I'm bringing work into my house
no
and I'm
work-life
charting.
balance.
Right.
No work-life balance.
Exactly. And then you have
And
this
then
yeah,
it does make sense. But let me say this, Dr. Benoit. I know a lot of times doctors talk about stress, right? And how stress can raise your blood pressure and stress can contribute to high blood sugar levels, like all these different things, right? But the doctors are being put under a huge amount of stress,
it's a
which
lot.
is crazy because they're telling people don't, right? So it's kind of like this catch-22 kind of situation, right? Now, you talked about something when we had our prep call that I was like, I've never heard of that, right? So in terms of negotiation, right? So can you talk to people about negotiating and what that looks like in the workplace, particularly for Black women physicians?
Yes. Okay. So this is something that I'm so passionate about, negotiation, especially for Black women doctors, because what happens is the higher we go, there is almost like a tendency to perform, right? And
Mm.
there's a tendency to overwork ourselves. And then so
Oh.
what happens is we see our worth in our work. And
Mm.
we don't understand where our true value lies, and we may
Mm.
minimize gifts that we can utilize in our workplace, and we just
Mhm.
minimize who we are as Black
Mm.
women physicians.
Mm.
And so with with negotiation in my work, I help Black women physicians get back to their value, truly understand who you are. Because what happens is this, Dr. Kamani, you
Mm.
go through this journey and you become a different person. You lose
Mm.
your identity. You
Oh.
really do. So this is helping Black women physicians get back to who they truly are, who God
Mm.
created them to be, right?
Yeah.
And then it's also once they understand who they truly are, then they can start to tap into those
Mhm.
desires that have been hidden, those
Mhm.
desires that have never been verbalized because you thought that you were not worthy of having them, or you thought that you could not even attain them, right?
Mm.
And then it's learning how to use your value now and your vision and translate that when you're negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it is a whole process. And this is something that I personally had to go through when I
Mm-hmm.
was negotiating, because I work as a locum tenens physician. So I'm constantly negotiating my contracts. And it was something that I had to learn because I did not know my identity. All my identity was tied up in my physician, in my title as a physician. That
Wow.
I thought my worthiness was tied to that. And so I lost who I truly was. And so
Yeah.
going through this process made me understand, okay, well, who is she? Who is
Yes.
she? And so
Yes.
now when I come to negotiate, that is who you get.
Yeah, you're grounded in your greatness and your identity of who you are and what you're bringing
Yes.
to the table, right?
Yes.
So then you can negotiate because you know what you're bringing. So you're like,
You
no,
are
I'm
very
not taking
clear.
pennies, right? Like you getting this, right? So I want to ask you something too. You said you become disconnected from yourself.
Yeah.
How would you encourage Black women who are watching this now who feel disconnected from themselves? What, because that's part of the healing too, is reconnecting to ourselves. So what words would you give or can you offer to Black women watching this right now about reconnecting to ourselves?
Yes. I would say, to go back, I had to like really go back into my childhood and think about like who I was, right? I
Mm,
had to go back and think about what were all the things and the encounters that I've had with various people. What were the things that resonated
mm,
with others, right?
mm-hmm,
And so don't minimize that, like compliments that you get, or you know things that may have resonated with other people. I had to go back and think about that. I even had to ask my family and friends. I had to ask my family and friends, what are top 3, what are your top 3 qualities that you love about me? Right?
ah,
Yeah.
uh-huh,
Yeah. And no, listen, your family, and it's shocking, right? Sometimes, because you're with you may be with your family and friends all the time. Like, I remember asking my brother this, my little brother, and I was so surprised in a good way, because
uh-huh,
I didn't realize like how much he like really looked up to me, and
wow,
had so much things to say about me, good things to say about me, because we used to fight
yes,
so much when we were younger. But like,
yes,
I must have
yes,
been doing something right as a big sis. So
yes,
just going back to your childhood, going back to people who know you very well, and even
yeah.
asking them about qualities that have resonated in them about you.
Yeah. And can I just add something too? When we decide to ask people, make sure you're asking people who pour into you,
Oh yeah.
not people who keep just taking from you. Not like don't ask the energy vampires about your 3 talents or 3 gifts, right? Don't do that. Okay.
Mhm.
So what about situations where a Black woman physician is currently in her job? So we're talking before you talked about more so in terms of negotiating as you're coming into a job.
Mhm.
What about if you're already at your job and you're like,
Mhm.
this is toxic, this is harming me, right?
Mhm.
How, is there a possibility of negotiating and what does that look like?
No, so you have to know when it's time to go. So there are times there are times where it's time to go, right? And so that may look like that may appear in various ways. So it
Mm-hmm.
could appear like, okay, well, for example, let me give an example. So let's say that you are in a schedule, and you're seeing like patients on assembly line. All right,
Mm-hmm.
you can ask for support, for example, getting a scribe. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's something you can negotiate for in a job, getting a scribe to do your charts for you, so you can
Mm-hmm.
just focus on seeing the patients, and
Mm-hmm.
getting your scribe to put in any orders for
Mm-hmm.
you, so you could just focus on seeing the patients. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if seeing patients on an assembly line is affecting your quality of life, because
Mm-hmm.
you are now having to go home and chart and
Oh,
you don't have a life because you're at work when
mm,
you're at work, and then you're at work when you're home, and therefore there
mm,
goes your life. You're even
yeah.
charting on weekends. I know
Oh,
personally Black women physicians will like this, even charting during the weekend. So they're charting
mm,
all week.
mm-hmm,
So if it's at that point where you're there and you negotiate for support and
mm-hmm.
you're not able to get that support, then it may be time to leave. Right? Because that
Ah,
is not sustainable for any human.
mm-hmm.
Like that is not sustainable for any
Yeah,
human being, right?
yeah.
So, or it could be I have to go. I don't even want to go negotiate because I have been dealing with this for too long and I just need to get out of this environment and I've had enough, right? So
Hmm.
it does require really just sitting still and answering your heart's desires
Yeah,
to
yeah,
know
yeah.
it, because that will help you make a decision if it's time to go, or okay, let me try to negotiate for support so I
Mm-hmm.
can optimize the level of care that I'm providing.
Yeah. And I think too, like, if you feel like there's no end in sight, like, okay, I've tried to ask for a scribe, I tried to ask for this. They're like, no, 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 no. I think that's another sign like it's time to go. So, Dr. Benoit, I want to ask you this. So when I talk to a lot of Black women, many times Black women stay at toxic jobs because they're scared, right? They're scared of leaving. They're scared of, I won't be able to pay my bills. I won't be able to get another job. I won't be able to um, promote, or like all these fears come up, right? And that keeps a lot of Black women stuck at toxic jobs that are harming them, right? So I'm just curious, do physicians have that same level of fear about leaving their toxic jobs too?
Yes, especially if they are in a position that has a title next to it, right? Or like let's say they're a director or just somewhere higher on the totem pole. Why? And
Mm-hmm.
I believe a lot of that comes to tying our worth to our
Mm,
identity as a physician and
yeah,
truly not understanding as a physician, actually there's so many ways that we can produce income. There really
right,
are. There are
right.
so many ways. Honestly, I think physicians are one of the best coaches, right? Because it's something as a physician, when you're sitting down and communicating with a patient, we're listening, we're
Yes,
diagnosing,
yes.
we're doing this all simultaneously,
Mm-hmm.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
have to listen to the words they're not saying
Yeah,
sometimes, right? Even
yes,
when my patients speak to me, I'm listening, but I'm also like listening intently to what they're not saying, right?
yep.
And so and I'm in my brain is formulating, okay, how am I going to help this patient? And so there's a lot of processes
Mm-hmm.
that are happening while we're with a patient. So we're
Yeah,
diagnosing and treating while we're communicating all at the same time. It's
yes,
just the way our brain works, because as
yep,
we're getting this information, we're like, okay, well, what it's all happening all at the same time. And so
yes.
and so at the end of it, we'll be like, okay, based on what it is, it can come to a point where, okay, well, you have this and this is what you need
Mm,
and this is what you need and I'm going to get you this and that, and that's how we're able to do that, because
yes,
all of this is happening while we're listening and taking in a history, right?
yes.
So coaching is a great avenue. Telemedicine is
Hmm.
a great avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I know physicians who have done so they've worked as expert witnesses.
Mm,
That's also um, that is also a lucrative field for a physician as
yeah,
well, because we have depending on what the topic is. If you're an expert on oncology cases, right? You're an oncologist. You're the expert, so you can serve as an
absolutely.
expert witness on a trial. So
Yes,
there's just so many ways, but what happens is we've spent so much time
yeah,
into this profession where we
yeah,
think that that is the only thing we can do because we've spent all this time, and therefore it's like we we are handcuffed to working solely as a physician. But
yeah.
we honestly, our what we've learned as a physician is so indispensable, so indispensable. It
Mm,
can go in so many different ways. So
yeah,
it's, understanding that your worth is not tied solely in your identity as a physician, but
yeah.
because you are a physician, there are so many skills that you have that you may have minimized that could be indispensable in other areas. It's
Yes,
all
you could take your
transferable.
skills elsewhere,
Yes,
right?
it can be
And that you have
transferable.
options. You have options. And that's what I tell Black women all the time is that we have options. Even though it may not feel like it, we do have options. You can take those skills somewhere else. Now, okay, I know we're gonna wind down soon, but I came up with another question I wanted to
Okay.
ask
Oh, now
you.
you got the question, Dr. Kamani.
So, I just think about all the training and everything I had to go through to become a psychologist, right? Not a medical doctor, but it was a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of stress, all these different things. And when I got to my toxic job, not at the beginning it was good, right? Towards the end it was horrible. So when I'm at this tail end of this horrible job, it was so horrible. It made me question, did I want to be a psychologist?
Mm,
What I mean? Like, what am I doing? Like it was just so, I was so disillusioned, right? So I'm wondering, does that happen to medical doctors too? That you guys
yes,
go through so much training and
yes,
then to get to this point, like, what I worked this hard for what? For this? Like,
yes,
this is not what I signed up for. Does
yes.
that happen too?
That happened to me. Okay.
You're like, I know for sure this happened to me. Yes, yes. Can you tell us what was that like for you? Like, how did that impact you? Number one, and number two, what did you do about it?
Yeah, so for me, so I finished training in the pandemic.
Oh,
And so I finished in 2021. And at that time, I was applying to sports medicine jobs and I literally could not find a sports medicine job. And I just
wow.
didn't understand. I'm like, I invested 15 years of my life for this profession. And I don't care, pandemic or not, I should be able to find a job because
Right.
there are people who, I mean, regardless if it's a sports medicine job or not, like there are people who have musculoskeletal
Mm-hmm.
issues who need a physician.
Yes.
And so and it got so bad that actually had to go to the door of a clinic and hand in my resume. I got that desperate.
Wow.
And at the end of it, I was just like, I don't why did I invest so much time? Why did I invest so much energy? I thought
Right.
that I've done all that I had to do. I thought that when I would get to the end, I would be
Mm-hmm.
able to revel in a nice paycheck. But here
Yes.
I am struggling to find my next paycheck. It just
Mm,
didn't make sense.
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, yeah, I did not sign up for this.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just like, well, what was the point anyway?
Mm,
What was the point anyway? And so,
mm-hmm.
but I needed to go through that because
Mm-hmm.
like I told you, Dr. Kamani, during training, I knew that there was something more out there for me.
Mm,
And it was from watching my attendings, watching how they live their lives, watching
mm-hmm.
them try to advocate for
Mm-hmm.
themselves and seeing that get blocked, watching my attendings get so stressed during the COVID pandemic. I trained in New York City in
Mm-hmm.
2020. So
Oh, wow.
yes. And so, it was a hard time. It was a hard
Yeah.
time for us. It was a hard
Yeah.
time. And so deep down inside, I knew that I wanted to live differently, but
Mm,
I, it wasn't loud enough yet. But
mm.
when I walked into that clinic and I handed in my resume and they still denied me, I was like,
Wow.
okay. Yes. And they still denied me. I was like, okay, God, I'm here. What's up?
Right. I'm listening. I'm paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
Reveal, please.
I'm
What
like, what
direction
you
you want
want
me to
me to
go
do?
in?
What you want me to do? What you want
Yes.
me to do, my G? Because
Yes.
this don't make no sense.
Right. Right.
Yes. And so that is how I had to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had to now I practice. I mean, I would have never thought that I would be a travel physician. But I had to pivot.
Yeah. And this leads to one of the questions I see in the chat. Can you talk about some of those transferable skills? So some of the transferable skills you talked about was you weren't clinic based. You were like, okay, I can do this and I can be a travel physician.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about the transferable skills too?
Yeah, so there's so many transferable skills. Okay, so I would say one of them is so I could talk about it from this perspective. Now,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm a physician and I also have a business as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I use as a physician, I use my skills as a physician in my business. So one of
Mm-hmm.
my transferable skills, from my physician job is as a physician, I have a team. I have a
Mm-hmm.
team that I'm working with. I, as a physician, have to be able to help my team and create a standard for my
Mm-hmm.
team so that we can optimize patient care to the best of our ability. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in my business, I also have a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have my team there, and as the CEO of my business, I
Mm-hmm.
have to create a standard so that the members of my team can carry out my business to the standard that I've created. So that is one of the transferable skills, is that in both roles you are a leader, and as a leader you have to be able to create the standard so that people can follow and they have something to live up to. But most
Yeah.
important is making sure that you are living up to the standard in every facet of your life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like even when it comes to my health, right? I make sure that I go to the gym at least 4 days a week. Now, sometimes it could be
Mm-hmm.
free, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a regular gym goer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a regular healthy eater,
Mm-hmm.
except for my monthly Chick-fil-A fix. Now that I need my Chick-fil-A at least once a month. Okay. But I try my best to live up to the standard, because also in my role as a physician, I have to be able to counsel my patients on healthy
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle practices. So
Mm-hmm.
as the leader, like I have to make sure that I'm embodying a healthy
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle and I'm creating the standard.
Yeah.
So it in both sides, as the physician and as the CEO of the business, it's learning to create the standard and helping your team.
Mhm, mhm. And I'm wondering, Dr. Benoit, as we're winding down, if you can share with the audience, what is it that you're doing now? Like what is your, I know you do travel med,
Mhm.
what other things do you do? What is your business and how people can contact you?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so like I stated, I started saying that I am a dual board certified internal medicine and sports medicine physician by day. And actually, how I do this is actually very cool. So let me just tell you how I do this. So
Okay.
when I started my child physician job, people were telling me, "Oh, like, how are you going to be a sports medicine traveling physician? Because there's no travel physician jobs in sports medicine."
Oh, naysayers,
Oh, naysayers.
dream
Okay.
killers.
But I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go create it. Okay, so
Mm,
what I do is I go into typically primary care clinics, and
mm-hmm.
there is a need for sports medicine in these primary care clinics.
Uh-huh.
So I market myself. So that's where I'm using my transferable skills from my business into my
Yes,
physician job, right?
yes,
So now we're
yes.
going the other direction. So I market myself as a sports medicine physician, and the patients then start to market for me because they have good experience with me, and then they
Yeah.
start to market for me, and that's how I'm able to develop a traveling sports medicine practice.
That's incredible.
So
That's
that's one.
incredible.
So
Yes.
that's one. And then I'm also a negotiation coach. So I help Black women physicians work less and make more through
Oh, I love that.
negotiation. And so that is my negotiation coaching business that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And in my travel physician, that's also a business as well, because I work
Okay.
as an independent contractor.
Uh-huh.
So that's a business. I have my coaching business, and I do some telemedicine on the side as well.
Okay.
And
So
oh, I
how
forgot
about,
real estate.
oh my
Possibly.
God, what do you not do? But see, that's the beauty, right? Is that you work less, make more, so you're able to do other things that
Yes.
interest you, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly it. And because I've done this, let me tell you, my I love I love what I do as a physician, right? Because I have all these other things in my life that give me purpose and fulfillment. And so when I
Yeah.
come to work, I'm not drained, right?
Ah,
Like I just have something to give. And the patients
yes,
notice as well. So like I'm
absolutely.
able to really be present with them. They know
Yeah.
that I'm there for them. They know that I'm listening to them. They know that I care about them. I'm
Yeah.
here with them. And so now while I'm fulfilling other things, I now am able to have fulfillment in my job as a physician. And it's so beautiful because like at the end of the day, like I knew I wanted to become a physician by the age of 16. And so
Wow.
when I went into this journey into my medical career, that all got lost because of all the
Mm,
toxicity.
mm,
And now I've been able to curate my life where I'm able to find other things that give me purpose and fulfillment. And now I've regained that
yeah.
fulfillment in medicine again. And
Yeah.
I do believe that, there is, a need for a physician, but we can do it in a way that serves us, so
Yeah.
that we are getting poured into and then we have more to give to our patients.
Yes. And can I say, Dr. Benoit, the audience, you may notice this. When she started talking about what she's doing now, you just lit up. It was like
Oh,
just so
I'm
much
so happy.
joy and just such excitement about what you're doing now. And I just want to just give a testament to that and how I relate to that. Because again, when I left the toxic job, I was so drained, emotionally drained. Literally, Dr. Benoit, I would go to a meeting and it would be so emotionally draining because I was so unstimulated that I felt like I wanted to take a nap, right? So I was totally unstimulated. And then when I paused, exited, started doing my own stuff, resigned, whatever, I have found that I love being a psychologist again.
Right?
So I lost that and now I'm excited,
Exactly.
right? And then, what's so interesting too is now this is funny. And the person who said this might be watching right now. But when I started my YouTube channel, my YouTube channel started as a way for me to heal. So I said, if I can talk about what happened to me and that if I refuse to be silenced because they were trying to silence me, so if I refuse to be silenced, then I am starting to heal. And then the more I talked, the more Black women reached out to me, the more, right? So it started growing. So I had one guest on, a Black woman, and she said, "Oh my God, I cannot believe how many Black women are having this experience." And again, this is not just in the US, this is across the world, right? So she was like, "You know what? We need to start a movement." That's what she said, right?
Mhm.
So she said, I said, yeah. I said, yeah, that's right. Somebody would need to get, sponsors. Da, da, da. She was talking about me, Dr. Benoit, right? She was putting a seed that I was supposed to start the movement. And you know what? Now I
Oh,
receive that,
beautiful.
right? And I
Yeah.
feel and I know and I'm on fire about helping Black women heal and leave toxic jobs. And
Mhm.
so my transferable skill as a clinician, as a therapist, is now I'm a coach for Black women leaving,
Amen.
healing from toxic jobs. So
Mhm.
again, there's transferable skills. And I'm so thankful that I was able to leave and pivot because now I have this joy back in
Mm.
my profession. Because before I
Yeah.
had lost it. I lost it. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. So I need
Mhm.
to find out something else to do because this is not going to work. So I
Yeah.
want to say to Black women, as you're watching this exchange between us, that we want you to have that joy too about
Mhm.
what you're doing. We don't
Mhm.
want work to, of course, to define you, but
Yeah.
we don't want work to drain you either, right? And make you feel just disappointed and disillusioned, all that kind of stuff. So as for one day, I'm going to read the comments in the chat and then
Mhm.
we're going to start closing down. Okay. So someone said, you cannot heal an environment that's harming you. Profound. People who take care of others are often under attack. I experienced it as a school counselor. That's the thing that always trips me up. When we started talking about this a little bit, Dr. Benoit,
Mhm.
many times those of us who are healers, who are tasked to do healing work, we are being harmed by those same environments that we are tasked to heal people. It
Right.
makes absolutely no sense, right? Powerful. Didn't know this was going on in medicine.
Yes.
So we talked about the transferable skills. Oh, my friend Colette Elizabeth is here. I call her my Harriet. We call each other Harriet. Like we help Black women get out of toxic jobs,
I
right?
love it.
Underground Railroad. Has she considered serving as an agreed medical evaluator, AME, or qualified medical evaluator for workers' compensation, QME?
Right now my hands are tied up.
You busy. You busy. But these are options for other Black women
Oh yeah,
physicians.
for sure. For sure. Oh, for sure.
Yes.
But yes, no, honestly, it's back to what I stated. It's really, understanding your value. It's
Hmm.
understanding like what you are able to provide those unique qualities about you that you may have undermined, those unique
Hmm.
qualities of you that may have even undermined when it was given as a compliment, right? So how many times, even if you're dressed really nice and it's just like, oh, this old thing, like I got this,
Yes.
years ago, like it's just things like that you may undermine because you're so skilled and talented in it, right? So
Yeah.
it's really truly going back to those gifts and those talents that you have that
Yes.
are able to allow you to shine. So
Yes. 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 So how can Black women contact you?
yeah, so the easiest way to contact me is through Instagram, and that's the area that I like to most play. And my IG handle is sis negotiates with an S, so sis SIS negotiates with an S at the end.
I love it. So I'll put that information in the description section of YouTube. So in closing, ladies, I hope that you were able to connect to the information shared. Oh, one more person. Thank you for sharing. You have confirmed what I need to do to heal, all while pursuing my passion of connecting people with other successful people. Yes, connection and the power of sisterhood
Yeah,
is so healing,
yeah.
right? So you're able to see us. We've never met each other,
We've never,
right?
and I connect
But
like honestly. I was trying not this little tear wanted to come out right here. I was like, you better stay back. You when you when you stated how you were in that toxic job place and
Mhm.
through coaching you have regained your joy as a
Yes,
psychologist. I feel that so wholeheartedly because that is exactly where I am now. I'm
yes,
so fulfilled in those areas, other areas of my life, but like I love being a physician. I love
yes,
taking care of my patients. I love talking to them. Like I love that now, and that was
yes,
lost before. So
yes,
I get it. And I felt that when you said it. And it's such a good
yes.
feeling.
Oh my gosh.
it's so free. Like, man, I love this is like I was born to be a physician. Like this is what
Yes,
I was supposed to do. It's just that I was in a space that didn't allow me to, practice in the way that I wanted to.
yeah,
So but living my life in this way and finding different areas that provide me with purpose and fulfillment
yeah.
allows me to regain my joy in medicine. So
Yeah. So that, like being aligned to this is my dream, and I'm able to live life on my terms, and I'm helping to heal other people at the same time. I think so many times we lose our voice as Black women
mm,
because we feel like we have to stay in a certain situation. There's no options for us. That's not true. My hope is that if you're watching this right now, you
mhm.
know that you have options. We also talked about coaching, that if you feel that I don't know how to get out of here, but I need
Mhm,
a coach, find a coach. Okay.
mhm.
So I do have a Black Women Healing from Toxic Jobs coaching program. I'll put that information in the description section. I also have a digital fillable workbook, Welcome to Your Queendom. So we talked about that sense of being disconnected from ourselves. So
Mm.
when this stuff is happening, you're like, what is going on here? Right. I was so lost. I didn't know what I knew I need to get out of there,
Right.
but I didn't know how to get out of there. So I developed this roadmap for myself. And so that's the Welcome to Your Queendom Digital Fillable Workbook
I
when I
love
put
it.
it in the description section too. So that helped me get out, okay, having some direction. And then lastly, I want to announce to everyone, as I said before, that I'm having a master class with S. Emery Archer, the anti-HR lady, who's also an attorney. And we're having a master class, Save Yourself, Channel Your Inner Harriet, to get out of your toxic hustle job with your sanity and your coins. So
Okay.
that is coming
Cool.
out in June. So we are going to drop the early registration link. We will be on Stephanie Perry's channel this Saturday during her live. So check that out. So that would be, I think, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 9 a.m. Central Time. So check out Stephanie Perry with Emery Archer and I, and we will talk about the masterclass and we'll drop the early registration link in that live. Okay. So everyone, again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Benoit. It was a pleasure talking with you. And again, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. Lifting Us with Climb Consulting, Wellness Services. And have a good night. Dr. Benoit, if you could just stay on for one moment, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.